How do you know? How do you know it'll be good?
Because I know what is good. And so do you.
I don't.
You do. You do. You've always known.
What about everyone else? All the other people who think they know what's good.
They don't get to choose.
If you could describe the season finale of Game of Thrones in one word, how would you describe it?
Disappointing.
So, the last season of Game of Thrones broke my heart. Made me really sad and angry. Hi, my name is Bibiana, or Schenk, or you can just call me Bibi. So let's review the final episodes of Game of Thrones while I'm gonna be doing my makeup again. Don't judge me. By the way, I would like to congratulate everybody on Game of Thrones for finishing the show. From the actors, the costume design, the location scouting, the camera work, the filmmaking, the cinematography, just all the aspects of making a good show were there. They were honestly amazing. It's just, the show would have been perfect if only it didn't have such bad writing. Because you don't need good writing, right? I mean, you can still make a lot of money anyway. As I said, my heart is broken, but let's start with episode 4 because... So the whole Gendry, Daeneryss moment where Gendry suddenly just is named the Lord of Storm's End, and Daenerys like, yeah, buddy, you're if you're gonna, take a knee and be one of my bitches, then I'm gonna make you the Lord of the Storm End. And I mean, I don't really care what the people who live there think about that. It's like, just stick with me, buddy. I loved how she was just like congratulating herself for doing that, and then like looking at Varys and Varys being like, very, very good, my queen. Yeah, great decision. Yeah, fuck what people think. I was also so annoyed by just Daenerys constantly being sort of annoyed by people in Westeros not liking her. I mean, what were you expecting? Everybody told you, like Tyrion told you, that this is something you have to expect. You are a foreign invader that is trying to usurp an entire kingdom. It doesn't matter if you're the rightful king or queen or not. Those people are still gonna see you as a threat because you're bringing war and destruction and instability into their country. So then there was this like Brienne Jaime moment, which, I mean, fan service, I guess, the whole sex thing, but I didn't really care honestly at that moment. But what I did care about was how suddenly, when everybody's leaving Winterfell and Jaime realizes that, oh well, I guess I gotta go down to King's Landing and help Cersei. Fuck my character development, am I right?
Commanded you to kill your own father and stand by while thousands of men, women and children burned alive. Would you have done it?
And for every one of the million people in that city, innocent or otherwise.
To be honest, I never really cared much for them. Innocent or otherwise.
Do you care?
I mean, did you not rewatch your last seasons? Or I feel like the whole script for the season is just one huge first draft. They were just like, yeah, I guess we're running out of time, so might just well rush it out. Am I right? I mean, who cares? We don't need people to give us feedback and tell us like, hey, maybe you could like do this a bit differently, or maybe like just do another season or 2 or maybe even 5. We'll give you the money for it. we love Game of Thrones. It's making us so much money. No, we gotta finish because we gotta go work for Star Wars, Disney is calling, and when Disney is calling, like, you don't make them fucking wait, girl. No. You go work for Disney because Disney is Disney. And then there was this whole scene of like Daenerys and Jon, where Daenerys is like, hey, so you can't tell anybody about your secret because people don't like me here, and they like you, and if you tell them that you are maybe the rightful king and heir to the throne, then my claim wouldn't be as strong, and therefore please don't tell anybody. I think at this point, like, Jon was supposed to slowly realize that Daenerys is very obsessed with this whole throne thing and sitting her ass on the throne. And as I said in the last part, I don't really buy their romance. Like, I don't really care about it. They don't have any chemistry at all because they don't really, the writers didn't really give them any sort of relationship development. If they don't know what to do writing-wise, like, because they don't know what to do writing-wise because they're terrible writers, they just like, oh, well, let's just throw action in. Or, oh, no, let's just show them riding a dragon. That will be amazing, right? I mean, that will fix everything. They don't need chemistry. They're fucking dragons. Who needs chemistry? Nobody needs chemistry, you know? Nobody needs that shit. It's overrated anyway. Love is overrated, kids. Just get a fucking job and forget about settling down with somebody. It's completely fucking useless. And this is also why I don't really believe in their romance, because if you really loved her that much, you would keep the secret. So why are you, like, opening your mouth and talking to people? Maybe you don't love her that much. Or if he's just a dumbass. Because that's how he was written the last 2 seasons. Like, him being a dumbass.
You are my queen. You are my queen. She is our queen.
Well, she
is my queen.
You will always be my queen.
Dany forgetting about the Iron Fleet. I mean, how did you forget that? You just, like, forgot that your enemies have ships? You could still have 2 dragons if she flew to King's Landing, not via, like, together with her soldiers, but just, like, with Jon on horseback. Like, she could just fly with them, and like, if they're so in love and they can't, you know, spend time apart, that would be nicely shown of them traveling together, and she could still have 2 dragons and not have the stupid excuse of, like, oh, well, we gotta get the head counts of the dragon to 1 because I guess it would be difficult if she had 2 dragons once Jon has to X her or something. I don't know. And she doesn't even care, you know, that she just lost a dragon. It's just like, he just drops dead into the water and is like, yeah, whatever, no. I mean, those are her children, right? Like, she's the mother of dragons, and it doesn't really seem to affect her that much.
Mother.
The Lannisters send their regards.
And then the interesting thing, they take Missandei hostage. And I'm just like, okay. First of all, how did they get Missandei? And second of all, how did they know who she was? We're just treating her as the super important hostage, but, like, Missandei is not really anyone of importance. She is a friend of Daenerys, and she was, you know, there from the beginning, but she's not really important. Like, obviously, Daenerys is not gonna, like, bend the fucking knee to save Missandei, even though she's her friend. It was just kind of like one of those moments where you're just like, oh, look, it's Missandei. Missandei was there from the beginning, right? Like, you should care about this character, so we're gonna kill her now. Like, feel sad now. Feel sad like Dany is sad, but she's not really sad. She's just kind of annoyed that they killed one of her friends, and that's it. And then yeah, let's get to the final, right? Episode 5. Wow, this was a shit show. So I heard certain people saying this thing that if you remove the whole bell thing from the episode, it would actually make more sense. It doesn't really make sense for Daenerys as a character to just suddenly slaughter the entirety of King's Landing. Like, she just straight up is killing innocent people. Somebody who always cared about innocent people and protecting them and breaking the freaking wheel, and she just slaughters an entire city. You kind of out of character for her. You know, that's just my opinion, but like, what do I know, right? I don't know shit. But if you would take the bells out of the equation and suddenly you have Daenerys, you know, she's on the wall with Drogon, and she's sitting on him and waiting for Cersei to surrender. And but she you know, she just doesn't. Then I would kind of understand her making that move of attacking King's Landing, but still, you don't really have to kill the entire city. Like, that's what I didn't understand, why would you suddenly kill everybody in the city? Like, you could just, you know, I understand that they wanted to make her the Mad Queen, but they never showed her going mad. There were always like these small hints of like, oh, look, like she doesn't have her friends anymore, you know, there is no Jorah, and Missandei died, and like she doesn't have one of their, you know, dragons, and like she only has Drogon now. As a writer, if you want to write something correctly, you have to show the audience that this person is feeling this way. Because if you just go from this phase to doing this, then it kind of doesn't make sense, and people will be pissed off because they're like, what just fucking happened? What? Like, what? Why is this girl doing this? But also to all those people that are saying, okay, if you would just remove the bells, then it would make kind of more sense for the character to do what she did. I also just think, dude, you are trying to do damage control on something that could have been totally avoided. Like, just get us 2 more seasons instead of making 8 seasons. Why don't you make 10 seasons? That's what George R.R. Martin always said. He always wanted at least 10 seasons to finish this properly off, and I totally agree with that, because the whole, like, episode 6 in general is just, that could have been an entire season by itself, like a standalone thing. That's why it has such a low rating, because nobody really liked it. It was so rushed and terribly written.
Deplorable and should not be allowed anywhere.
I didn't really understand what Aria was doing in the last episode. Like, I was sort of involved in her little quest of like seeing what this whole thing is about, like how Daenerys is causing all this destruction. Because in a way, Daenerys is also having revenge, right? They wanted to see Aria, someone like actually acting on their deepest, darkest thoughts and feelings, and that's revenge. And we saw what happens to characters that are only motivated by revenge in Game of Thrones, am I right? So maybe that's what they wanted to do. They wanted Aria to see, okay, this is what happens when you don't forgive and forget and move on to something better and noble than revenge. But that wasn't really explored that much. Okay, in episode 6, when I saw Aria like meeting Jon just before like Jon hitting up Dany in the Iron Throne hall or whatever, I thought like, oh, maybe Arya's gonna kill Daenerys, just because of seeing all that. But then they never really did anything with her. She just sort of wandered off. Another thing I wanted to say is, I think that the Long Night and just the whole fight with the Night King, if they only did 1 more season, and this season would be all about fighting the Night King and dealing with the long winter that is approaching, I think that would have been great. It would have been way more time to deal with that whole problem, and then you could have 1 more season, so you wouldn't have to do 10, you could just do 9 of dealing with the aftermath of that whole thing, because we only got 3 episodes, and then about the Long Night, and then 3 episodes of like dealing with the aftermath. I do think the ending itself is actually quite well. I think it makes sense for, in a way, for Bran to become king. I do think that he could have been a good king. It makes sense for Jon to return to the Wall because that's kind of where he always belonged in a way. I think experienced the best time of his life with the wildlings. I think it made sense for Sansa to be queen of the North, if only it would have been set up properly and not just like, little brother, I just think I wanna be queen in the North. Yeah, thanks, bye. And then Aria just like, okay, so I'm gonna be an explorer now. Yeah, obviously that it makes sense for her character, but nobody really cares. Like, okay. I always thought that Daenerys is definitely going to die at the end because her destiny was always like, she was very obsessed with the Iron Throne and getting her destiny and believing that is her destiny and she's supposed to sit on the Iron Throne and become the Mad Queen. Game of Thrones is very much about breaking certain wheels, as you would like, breaking certain cycles. She cannot accept the fact that maybe it's not the best idea, letting it go, letting this Iron Throne thing go and just stay, Marine or whatever, and rule there and try to make the lives of the people there better, and not have to go to King, like to get her Iron Throne. And she never understood that, and that's what basically killed her in the end, that she couldn't stop herself from repeating the same cycle that her ancestors were doing. She couldn't stop the conqueror inside of her. D&D knew where Jon wanted to go with the story. They had the pieces lined up. They knew where the story is going, but they never actually properly developed it to that point. They knew, it's like writing the ending first and then trying to fit the ending into whatever you're doing. You need to prepare your audience from going to A to B to C to D to and so on, and you can't jump from B to Z. You just can't. We need to understand why these people are making the decisions they're making, and that's why the show felt really rushed and just flat, and nobody really enjoyed it. I mean, look at the freaking ratings on IMDb. People didn't enjoy it. Critics didn't enjoy it. Nobody enjoyed it. It was extremely poorly made. Bran. Well, I already talked about Bran a lot, but I'm gonna repeat it anyway.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
He's a completely useless character. The writers of the show don't know what to do with him. They can't write smart shit. They can only write dumb action. That's what they're good at. I mean, just the fact that Bran is probably one of the most powerful characters, probably the most powerful character in Game of Thrones, and they can think of a single way how to use his powers for the entirety of season 7 and 8. Like, he didn't once warg into a dragon. He didn't defend himself against the Night King. He didn't do anything. He was just sitting in a wheelchair. And then you want to make him king of Westeros because Tyrion says that he has the best story. It feels cheap, and it feels really, really... It just feels awful. It leaves you with this terrible aftertaste in your mouth of just like, these people really didn't care. And it's really sad because everything else about the show is so great. The costumes and the camera work, the cinematography, just the acting, the directing, like it's great. It's just the writing sucks. I just wish they did better. I think everybody does. I know it's such a first world problem to be bitching about Game of Thrones, but a lot of people cared about the show. A lot of people were invested in the show, and they were invested in the people and the message that this show was about, and how power corrupts, and how it forms a person. And the show had something smart to say, but it never said it because it was, as I said, poorly written and underdeveloped and rushed and had no time to actually say what it could have said. So I don't think that the ending of the show was bad. I think the ending itself could have worked if all the points that I've mentioned would have, be a reality, but they're not. Instead, I think The two idiots that are to blamed for this are D&D, our Dumb and Dumber. Why couldn't they allow themselves to take some extra time and actually think of us, the audience, and finish this project the way it was supposed to be finished? I think they knew that they don't have to finish it in the right way for us, the audience, because they knew everyone would be watching. Everyone would tune in and watch the final season, and they knew they're not gonna lose any money. And that's what Hollywood cares about, money. They don't care about if what you did wasn't right. They knew people will watch anyway, because they were invested. They were invested because of the good writing that you stole from George. That's why they were invested in, and all the work that your people put into this show. That's why they were invested. That's why they wanted to see a great ending. And what you gave them was nothing close to anything of value. Just a hollow husk of an ending that never really went anywhere. Didn't have anything to say. And that's what pisses me off. That's what makes me angry, because I know the show had way more potential. Let's talk about Disney for a second. Do you know that they own like 1/4 of the entire entertainment industry?
Boom, bam, bam, bop.
What did we learn from all of this, children? Don't get into bed with Disney, because it's a fucking...
It's a trap!
You know what? Go watch Breaking Bad. Yeah, that's my suggestion for you. You wanna see a really good ending? Go watch Breaking Bad, because Breaking Bad has the best ending I have ever seen. Like that's the most satisfying ending I have ever experienced. So go watch that if you're sad about Game of Thrones. That'll make you a little bit more happier. Otherwise, I'm gonna see you next week with a different kind of video. And yeah, that's it. Hope you had fun listening to me bitch about Game of Thrones. I am sad and lonely and hollow and honestly also kind of hungry. So yeah, see you next week. Bye!